So we're in the middle of a digression of Rabbi Yochanan quoting Rav Bana'a. Rabbi Yochanan quoting Rav Bana'a. So Rav Bana'a, it turns out, was a exceedingly chashuv individual. We'll see a Rashbam, and he happened to be Rabbi Yochanan's Rebbe. You're talking about the greatest Amoira in the history of the world, Rabbi Yochanan, that the halachas like him kavasei b'chol makom, and Rav Bana'a was his Rebbe. And this is one of the most famous Agaritas in Shas, one of the least understood in Shas, and therefore we'll spend a little time on it and extrapolate what we can. So we're up to Mem Nun Ches Amid Aleph, and we are four lines down. Rav Bana'a Havikomitzayim Marasa. Rav Bana'a, he was going ahead and he was demarcating graves. Marasa, literally a cave. They would bury them in caves. Let's see Rashbam, guys. Rav Bana'a, Adam Gadol, B'chashev Haya, Lefikach Nitein Lo Rishus Likanes, B'kivrei Tzadikim. Since he was such a chashev person, he was able to enter into the kvarim of tzaddikim. They were buried like the Ma'oras HaMachpelah, as we were discussing. They were buried in caves. He was able to go in there. Aval acher loy, but another person would not be able to go in there. Kedarminon in Chulin, Gedolim tzaddikim misasan yosim v'chayehem, v'yenichnis b'ma'oros, and he was going into caves. Umodeid midas orchan mivifnim. He'd go ahead and measure the measurements inside. V'yakach moidei mibechutz. And afterwards, he would go ahead and he would measure them from the outside. Kenegdon, the also sham tzion. He would make it tzion there of sid, of cement, of whitewash. Kedei lahakir mokem atuma, to recognize the place of tuma. Lo yaviu taharos derech kan. They wouldn't bring tyrus there. Shloyal ala keva. Shouldn't be olam the keva. So now you're talking about Rav Bana'a lived certainly after the Churban, whereas people were not so nizer in tuma v'tayra. Where all kahanim were tamei, where there no longer was a para aduma to go ahead and be metaher. So but again, you'd have to say, according to this, that there are people who, again, a kohen is not allowed to go ahead and be makabel tuma. So you could say he's doing it for kahanim. The Yavitz says something interesting. He says he was go ahead and demarcating that you should know these are kivrei tzadikim, because it doesn't say he was going around and measuring every single kever. It says he was dafka going to the kever of tzadikim. So mistama, it's a very good shot. Why was he dafka going to the kever of tzadikim? We should know where to go ahead and daven. As we know, you go to Eretz Yisrael, the Arizal demarcated and told us who exactly is buried where. I think it's a very, very nice shot with a little nice knech, because again, why is he dafka going to these? So he comes to a cave, and not only a cave, he came to the cave. Ki matal marata da Avram, when he got to the Moras HaMachpelah where Avram was buried, Ashchel Eliezer Eved Avram, the Koi Kamoi. He saw Eliezer Eved Avram was standing by the entrance. Bava, he went ahead and he knocked on the door, Amalei, and he asked Eliezer, Maika Eved Avraham, what's Avram doing? So Amalei said Eliezer to Rav Bana'a, Gone Bichnafa de Sarah, he's lying in the arms of Sarah, the Kamayane La Beresha, and she's gazing at his head. As I state, that's what it says over here. Amalei zil emalei bana ka. Go say bana is here. One of the reasons I saw my son Simcha share with me is called bana because he was a builder. He's building these demarcations for the caves. Koi, tell him that bana koi abava. Amalei. So Rebbe Eliezer told him, Leil, go in, because made the yediyah the yetzer b'hai al moleka. In the next world, there is no yetzahara. Ayil, he went in. Ayin, he looked. V'nafak, he took measurements and he left. As I state. A very strange Gemara. A very, very strange Gemara. Now, what's the what exactly is going on over here? Like, what is the Gemara telling you? What's the cryptic message? So I'll share with you a Marsha, and then I'll share with you some other Torah that I saw, and ultimately I'll share with you my own Torah on this. So let's see what the Marsha says. Sure. You can see this. Is it very small? Could it be bigger? You can see it? Clear? Oh, great. Mishum the Havi Koy Eliezer Abava Havi Kasava Rabbina. Since Rabbi Eliezer was outside, Rabbina thought The Ovid Avram midi did tznius, that Avram is doing something of tznius, something private. Ulekach hemid Eliezer sham, and therefore Avram had stationed Eliezer there. Leilesi inish hasam, that a person should come there. Ve'evsha, perhaps, Davisav Rav Bana, the Avram hayim mispalel, that Avram was davening. As kidarmina perik hapoyalim, the Avoseinu mispalim al Golus Yisrael. The Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they're constantly davening on our plight. So perhaps Rabbi was thinking that what was the media tznius? That he didn't want to be disturbed. Eliezer was standing there, that a person should not come in to be mafsakit from his tefillah. Miu kushtahu, the truth is, right? He wasn't davening. Kitak Omar, as it says, Gani bichnafa de Sarah, and Sarah was looking at his head. And for me, did it tznius that to go ahead and station Eliezer there also was no reason. Kitak Omar, the Yetzer beha'al moleka, there's no Yetzer in that world. So there is no Yetzer hara associated with Avram being in the arms of what? Of Sarah, and Mimela, there wasn't any reason for him to be there. So the question is, why was he there? El Diesh Leimar, De'midul Eliezer Sham, Lalesi Inish Delay Maile Hasam. A person who's not roy should not come there. Leinitim Rishus Likones Bekivit Tzadikim, Elo Adam Gadol B'Choshev. The only person who can get into the cave of a tzaddik is a person who's very choshev. So take a look, fellas. Before we continue, look at the Rashbam, Dibar Maskal Rab Banoah. Oh, we did it already, right? That Rav Noah, that was what he was Adam Choshev. So we did the Rashbam already. Kapir Shashram, Le'el. The Inyan now, what's the matter of lying in the arms of Sarah? What's the matter? So Rabbi Eliezer was there. Rabbi Eliezer of Avram was there. Rashbam tells us he's one of the people who didn't die, one of the 7 people who didn't die. He's stationed there to stop anyone who's not roy from coming in, but not from not seeing what's going on in there. The Inyan de Ganoi Bechnafa did tzadikim b'misasan kruyachayim. V'amisa eina ela k'sheina l'gabayu. Misa by tzadikim, since the nikra chayim, it's considered like sleep. K'masha kosav. U'mekayim emunasai l'sheni afar. That what we call mesim, those who are sleeping in the afar, l'sheni afar. V'derech eretz la'ayim b'reishei de hayishanim. It's derech eretz. I'm not sure what this means, but it's derech eretz to go ahead and view and gaze at the head of people who are sleeping. Ukinyan Zomer Amru Perik Payalim, with the Maisa Rebbe Elazar Reb Shimon. We recall, guys, Rebbe Elazar Reb Shimon didn't want to be buried. He was in an attic for 22 years, and his wife looked at him and she saw the worm coming out of his ear, like a piece of a worm coming out of the ear. She was looking at his head after he died. Kilu Chai. Remes Bezeh, Bichnaf with the Sarah. She was buried there. Since she was the main person of the house, who could have gazed at him, so the Rashbam tells us Eliezer was stationed there to go ahead and stop any person who's not ready to come in. It had nothing to do with Mili Tzniusa, because in fact, what in the next world there is no taiva, and therefore what Avram was doing and Sarah holding him, there was nothing associated with it. So the question is, what about Rav Banoah? He wasn't in the next world. And what's he looking at? You know, what's he looking at over here? It's like very interesting. Oh, I think shots like this, fellas. This is I'm going to suggest something that I thought about. What was the greatness of Avram Avinu, fellas? The Rambam in Hilchas Avodah Zarah, Perik Aleph, Halacha Aleph, Halacha Beis, he calls Avram Amudoy Shel Olam. His title is, he was the what? He was the Omid of the world. He was the founder of the world. And again, I think anyone that's listening to the shir should really, really, really go through the Rambam. Again, it's a beautiful Marmokim. The Hilchas Avodas Kechavim, it's in the first Chelek in Mada, and go through. He tells the story of Avram Avinu. The Rambam tells the story of Avram Avinu, and it's fascinating. and he describes how the whole world was worshiping the sun. They were in temples with a false Nevi'im. It was amazing the world that the Rambam describes that Avram was born in. And he goes, in that world, there was an Oilel, the young child, who figured out when the sun went down, the moon came out, there's got to be someone else in control. And with his own chachma, Avram Avinu went ahead and recognized Hashem. Without Torah, without any Svarim, without seeing anyone. I mean, he saw Noach, I think. But again, Avram Avinu, he was Amud Shalom. He found it. So Avram's greatness, I think, guys, was in his head. He, with his chachma, ascertained that there's a world. What's a woman's chachma? A woman's chachma is in her hands. She is the Balas Chesed. This is, I'm getting from Simcha told me b'shem, what I think the Anaf Yosef. You're going ahead and she's holding on to him. I wanted to say that that's the tachlis of the woman, to go ahead and support her husband and be protective of her husband. I think it's a great diak, fellas. What does it say? Guys, what does it say? That if you're worried about Milid Snusa, in that world there is no what? There's no Milid Snusa. If Rabbanah was coming in, why didn't Avram and Sarah just separate? In other words, he was going to look at their situation. Why didn't they just separate? Let Avram and Sarah will look at him, and they won't be touching each other. Why doesn't it say that? It doesn't say that. It says they stayed in that position, but be aware there is no taiva in the next world. So I want to taina that be'emes in the next world they're always in that position. It wasn't that a one-time deal. This is the relationship between Avram and Sarah. Sarah gazing at the chachma of Avram Avinu, who recognized Hashem and brought him into the world, and Avram being enveloped, being held by his wife, supported by his wife. And that situation you can't change. And therefore they stayed that way because they were always that way. I think it's a great diak, guys, right? In other words, why should you see something that, if you wanted to see something, so remove the scene. Why tell me that there's no taiva? Because I think that's pshat is the Gemara is metaphorically explaining and telling us exactly what that relationship was between Avram and Sarah. I think it's a very, very nice to hear. I think it's a very, very nice to hear. Now, ultimately, also, there's brought down lahalacha. There's a very, very interesting shaila that I was asked. I held this way: whether a man and his wife, can they show public ideas, public affection? Could they show public affection? You see people, they hug each other in the street, they hold hands in the street, or whatever. I don't know, they kiss each other. Again, we know goyim do it, but what about a yid? Is a yid permitted to do it? Is a yid permitted to show? So look at this, fellas. This is the Shulchan Aruch that I don't have with me, but I got it from, I think it's called the Seferia, right? So this is Simin, not Chaf Aleph. The Srachik min Aroyos, Uboy Zayin Sifim. So I'm not going through everything. I'm just going to go to the end. Okay, now. Also the Shnamesh Beisha Klal, Ben Gedoyla, Ben Katana, Ben Shifcha, Ben Shmichrer, Shema Yovel, they hear Avera, you shouldn't come to think about Avera. Beza Shimish Amru, Berchitzas Panav, they shouldn't wash your face, Yod of your hands, Ragel of your feet. I feel Elisa, Kamayim Lerchetz Panav Yad, even to pour it. I feel Einu Nagaspa, even you're not going to touch. But Sasamita Befund of Masigas Akais. The things that this also for by a woman who's needed to do for a husband. V'yeshaimrim, to who adin ba'achila ima v'kaira nami asa, shouldn't eat in the same plate. B'chol erva, any erva, k'may b'ishtay nida. Okay, v'yeshaimrim, t'chol zayna isa, rach b'makam yichud, ava makam sheroi b'ni adam etzuyin, k'goyim b'merchatz, muta lirchais, mukutis can wash you, shivchais v'chein noigin. That they can wash you if it's a public place. Here's what I want. V'yeshaimrim, the ein linoig afilu im ishtay b'dvarim shel chiba. A person should not be noig with his wife. Dvarim shel chiba kigon la'ayin bereisha im yesh lekinim. That she should look at his head, whether he has any lice in his hair. B'fnei acherim, in front of others. Nemuke Yosef, what perik, guys? Perik cheskas habatim. Our perik, our sugya. In other words, the sugi is telling us that, and in the next world, there is no idea of what of Yetzar and Taiva. But in this world, any formal form of chiba, even barabim, says the Ramah, is a source to be machmir. So again, I think it's from this Maisa that's brought down over here. It's fascinating. Now, my Simcha shared with me something from Rav Moshe, a very interesting tshuva. A man is not allowed to see his father or his father-in-law without clothing, because he'll see the makam of erva and he'll think this is where I came from. They'll think this is where I came from. What about after the patira of the father or the father-in-law, and he's part of the Chevra Kadisha, would he be permitted to perform a tahira on him or not? This is the Shiloh was posted by Moshe. So Rav Moshe at first wanted to use our Gemara that we see Rav Bana l'chayra good vis-a-vis Sarah and Avram. There wasn't any taiva, but what about Rav Bana? He wasn't in the next world. Rav Moshe wanted to tell you when it comes to the next world, to death, perhaps there's no taiva, and Memela, it's possible that what? Again, think the goodness of Moshe. It's possible to go ahead and be able to do a taira on one's father or father-in-law because there's no right. That's one side to the shaila. The other side he said was maybe not. Maybe Rabbanah, when he was looking at Avram and Sarah, he was also nicht in this Welt, right? He wasn't in this world either, so he was machriya. He can't bring any raya. But I think the fascinating part that he wanted to bring a raya from this Gemara, how you could take a Gemara of Agarata and apply it to Allah. That's fascinating. Okay, so we spent time on this because the rest of the dafs can go pretty quick. I think so bad here. Okay. Anyway, so he measured for and he went out. He measured out from Yitzchak Yaakov. He went out. Kimat l'masa Adam Rishon. Adam Rishon seems to have been in a separate area. Adam, as we're going to see, we'll explain in a second, like the Marsha, why Adam was in a separate area. The Marasa Machpelah. So it seems the Abbas are on the outside and Adam Rishon is on the inside. Fellas, have you been to the Ad Marasa Machpelah? Did they have a place for Adam Rishon or just the Abbas? Do you remember they put the signs on who's buried where? Do you remember if they say Adam Rishon or not? I don't recall. Okay. So now he wanted to go in. He wanted to measure the measurements of Adam Rishon. Yatsa Baskol v'Omra. A Baskol came out and said, a Baskol came out and said, Nistakalta b'demus diyukni. You're looking at what? You already looked at my image. Rashbam brings, we've mentioned many times that Yaakov Avinu looked like Adam Rishon, and Adam Rishon was on the throne of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Kisei HaKavod. So he said, you already saw my image, that you saw Yaakov, but the Yukni Atzma, but the image of my creation, Al Tistakel. You can't look at Adam Rishon. So you can't go into that cave to go ahead and measure. So he said to the Baskol, Rabbinan, that Saina Merat Marta, I have to go ahead and be Messiah in the cave. So he said to him, they told him, the Baskol said, Ken midas hachit Saina, kach midas hapenimius. Just like the midah of the chitzaina, meaning the outside ma'ara of Avram Avinu you measured, that's the same midah of the penimius of the inside of Adam Rishon. So there's no need for you to go there. The measurements are the same. Ulamanda Amar Shtei Batim Zula Mailamizu, that it was a duplex. It wasn't. There's one opinion that they were buried what they were buried called because they buried the different zugais buried there. But according to another opinion, Shtei Batim Zula Mailamizu is Kamidas El Yoina Kach Midas Al Tachtoina. Just like the upper, so too is the bottom one. I guess Adam Rishon is buried in the bottom, which would make sense. Amar Abanoi, Niskalkalti B'Shnei Akova. I wouldn't go into the cave, but I was zeicha to see his two heels of Adam Rishon, the Doimim B'Shnei Galgalit Chama, and his two heels were what? Like two fiery orbs. They were like the sun. So in Bereshis, I'll share with you something I heard in 1983 from Gershon Weiss, Zeichet Tzadik Levracha. He was the Mashkiach Yeshiva Staten Island. It says, "Vayitz Hashem Elokim es Adam offer min ha'adama." HaKadosh Baruch Hu he created Adam offer min ha'adama. What's ha'adama? Says Rashi, in Mokam HaMizbeach Shenemar, right? Mizbeach Adama Tikachli. You should take for me a Mizbeach of Adama. So Nim said Adam was not created from any dirt. He was created from the dirt of the Makam Mizbeach. He wasn't created in any dirt. He was created from the dirt of the Makam Mizbeach. Why? So said Rav Weiss, a wonderful idea. We know that a person is a dichotomy. On one hand, we have biological needs and functions that's based upon the body. On the other hand, we have this unbelievable piece of Hashem, Vayipach Ba'apach Nishmas Chayim. We have a piece of God inside of us. The dichotomy of a person is, does his body work on the neshama or the neshama work on his body? In other words, that's the constant conflict. Ultimately, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to make the body be a piece of Hashem. We're supposed to perfect our body, that our body no longer is, we speak about Gedolim, they eat very little. They're not into this world. They're mamish. Rav Chaim Kanievsky wasn't into this world. I'm forgetting his name. He died, he was very old, Rav, I'm talking about Steinman, right? That's exactly. Rav Steinman, he used to eat nothing. He ate gruel. He ate nothing. He wasn't. His whole mahus was one of kedusha and taira. Rav Steinman. It was one. That was all. Everything. So said Rav. So how's it possible to a person affect his guf, that his guf should become ruchnius as well? Because after all, schmutz is schmutz. Dirt is dirt. In Yiddish, shtoib is shtoib. There's a good one, look, Kenny. Shtoib is shtoib. Ella, since we're created from makam mizbeach, makam kedusha, a makam that's machapa on a person has the ability to turn his body also what into a dava that's, you won't have the barrier. Said Rav Weiss, that's pshat. Can you imagine? The lowest part of a person is his heels. The lowest part of a person is his heels. Adam's heels, even in his death, was shining because again, his body had been affected. His body had been negated by his neshama, his oil and neshama impacted upon his body to the extent that it wasn't a barrier to his neshama. And the light saw, and this light was the light of the neshama that was shining through. That was what he said. I think it's a very nice to have. Rabbanah. Stakalti b'shnei akobav v'doim l'shnei gagali chama. Hakol b'fnei Sarah, any person in front of Sarah is kikaif, looks like a monkey. That's how beautiful Sarah was. The Gemara Megillah, one of the four most beautiful women in the history of the world. B'fnei Adam, b'fnei Hakol b'fnei Sarah kikaif b'fnei Adam. Sarah b'fnei Chava kikaif b'fnei Adam. Chava b'fnei Adam kikaif b'fnei Adam. Adam b'fnei Shechina is kikaif b'fnei Adam. Speaking about the beauty. And now we'll quote the Gemara that we said on the Peidalid in Baba Metzia. Shufar the Rav Kahana means Shufar the Rabbi Vo. Rav Kahana looked like Rabbi Vo, and Shufar the Rabbi Vo is Me'ain Shufar the Yaakov Avinu. Shufar the Yaakov Avinu, the beauty of Yaakov Avinu is Me'ain Shufra the Adam Rishon. Is Me'ain the beauty of what? Adam Rishon. The Gemara asked what about Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara described the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan. He used to wait when the women would come out of the mikvah that they should have children like him. He was the last person of the Shufra of Yerushalayim. So what do we answer? We answer they didn't have a beard. You see that to have a beard is a chashva thing. Rav Ari is a heta. There you go. Ahu am Gusha. Okay, this is a weird Gemara. Ahu am Gusha. There was this magician. There was this kishuf macha. The havichotit shichvei. This guy would go ahead. He would go into caves and he would dig it up and he would steal the begodim of corpses. Kimata amarta the Rav Tuvi bar Masna. When he got to the cave of Rav Tuvi bar Masna, tafshe b'diyuknei. So Rav Tuvi bar Masna, he grabbed this magician by the beard. Asra Abaya came along Abaya. Amalei matusi minach. He begged from Rav Tuvi bar Masna, I beg you, Shavke, leave him alone. Shanach Rita, Hada, this guy went ahead, came back, and Hada Asa tafse. But this time he went ahead. See, Adam Rashram says that Abaya liked this fellow for some reason. And again, he got his beard grabbed. Asa Abaya, Shavke, this time he didn't let go. This didn't let go. Right? The beard is the beard. This is the Ben Yoyada guys. The beard is the simon of chachma, of a zaken. The person has chachma, right? This guy has a beard. He's an idiot. He's digging up graves. So he grabbed him by the place that you should have chachma. He wanted to show that the business kind chacham. And So he had him by the bed. Anyway, this time, he didn't let him go. Adiasi mispara figasi l'dekaya. Until Abaya came along, what did Abaya do? Geshmak, what did he do? He cut off his beard. Now he didn't have a beard. You could see, everyone could see that in this kind of chacham. One person said to another, Chavita de Afra, l'chad broi, a barrel of earth to one son. Chavita de Gamri, a barrel of bones, l'chad broi, to one son. Chavita de Udre, l'chad bedoy, and a barrel of cotton to another son. This guy's dying and he's leaving his death wish, and no one knows what's flying. They push it, they know what's flying. So lo yoda had my kamalahu. Also, the Kamei de Rabbi Benah, they came in front of Rabbi Benah. Amalahu, Islahu Ara, the Amalayin. He asked them, do you have land? Yeah. Islahu Chiyusa, Chavasa, do you have animals? In Islahu Bistraki, do you have Bistraki? What's Bistraki is garments, I guess. Let me make sure. Begodim, right? You have Bistrakis Begodim in. So he said, Hachi Kamalahu. That's what he's saying. When he said to the one who should get the barrel of earth, that means you're getting the karka. The one who says he gets the barrel of bones, you're getting the animals who have bones. And the one who says you're getting the barrel of what, of cotton, he says you're getting what? You're getting the begodim. Okay, here's another case. Hu gavra, the shamal visayu, the ka'amal labarte. A person went ahead, who heard that what? Listen to this. He heard that this Isha, she said to her daughter, "Amai loit snia be surah." Now you're having znus with other men. You have to be a little more careful. That what? That people shouldn't find out. How, for example, Hach Issasa, speaking about herself, Asar b'nei Islay, I have 10 children, 10 sons, and only one of them what, is from your father. So this woman had 9 mamzerim. Now, one of the things about mamzerim is they're azis panim, that they have azis panim mamzerim. So amalahu kol nichse lechad bra. So the father of the mishpacha said, all my possessions should be to one child. However, lo yoda lahaiminayu, didn't know which one it was. Asla kamei de Rabbanah, they came in front of Rabbanah. Amr lahu, he said the following: all of you go, zilu chavutu kavra dalvuchan, go ahead and hit the kevra of your father, and the koi until get up. Magalu lahu lahaiminaichu shavka, until he gets up, and he'll go ahead and reveal to you who's the one he really. Ozal these mamzerim went. Ahu debrei have loyazal. However, the real son did not go. Amalahu kulu nichse dehai. All the chasim go to this one. So it's a brilliant ruse by Rav Benoy. Since the mamzerim, they really believed they're going to hit in the father's keva. So the mamzerim, they will hit the keva, but the one really true son, he didn't go in the first place. So reminiscent of the mice with Shleim and the babies, right? With cutting up the babies. Fascinating brilliance. Okay, the more discusses some more brilliance. Now these mamzerim weren't finished. What did they do? Oslu achlu kurtze malka. They went and they were malshin on Rabbanah. They went and said, we had a lotion of kurtze by kamsa. Right? They went and they were malshin on Rabbanah. Omar ikka gavra chad b'yudoi. They come mafik memoina me'inish b'lei sadeh b'lei midi. There's a Jew who's going ahead. He's taking money away from people without edus and right, without purpose. I see Chavshua, so the Roman government came and they incarcerated Rabbi Banah. Azla Visai, who came Rabbi Banah's wife, who must have been very smart. Amalahu, they said to these Dayanim, of the Chad Havili, I had an Evet. Paschul Resha, they cut off his head. Upashla the Mashre, they skinned his skin. The Achla Bisrei, they ate his flesh. The Kamole Be Maya, they filled it with water. And they gave to drink the animals. However, like and I didn't get paid, and I didn't get even a rental, nothing. But the Diana, they had no idea what she was talking about. So bring the Chacham of the Jews to tell us what he means. So Karayel Rabbinah, they called Rabbinah, Amalahu, Sarnuka Amalahu. You know what he was saying? As Sarnuka, Rashi says, is a noid. Rashbam says it's a barrel of what? Of a barrel of skin. Let's see, 3 lines from the bottom, the Rashbam. Sirnuka, Noit Shel Or, the Kachamra, Tayish Havili. I didn't have an Eved, but I had a goat. Because Luhum Imeni was stolen from me. The Shachtua, they slaughtered the goat. The Achalas Abasa, they ate its flesh. Umina Or, and from the skin of the goat, also Hamas, they made a leather pouch or some type of receptacle. The Shoyim by Mayim Shaisenbon. They poured water in and they drank it. So so he was such a chacham. That's what he said. Hadikok ksiv ba'avula. It was said it was outside the Bezdin. Written on the wall of the Bezdin was the following. This was written on the wall of the Bezdin. I Pasha can't see. I cannot believe I can't see it. Okay. Because they have ksiv ba'avula, saw on the wall. Kol dayan the miskri ledin. Loishme dayan. Any dayan that is called to a din Torah is not a dayan. Because b'chayish that is called to a din Torah, he took sheichad. So Amalahu Rav Bano said, El Meyata, Asa Inish Me Alma Amid Beis, a person will come out from the outside, Umasmin Lidayana, and Pasle. He'll just go ahead and he'll call him to a din Torah, and therefore what? He'll be paslim, even without any evidence. So that can't mean that can't be the explanation of what it said on the wall. Ella, here's what it means. Called dayan de miskri ledin, any dayan that is called to din, umafikin meinei mamona, that's the key, and he loses the court case. Bedin lav shmei dayan. Umafkin meinei b'moine bedin, then lav shmei dayan. He lost the court case. Why? Because he loved money. Therefore, he's not a dayan because he's chayshif for taking what? Bribery. So don't add that any dayan that was called to din, add the dayan that was called to din, and in addition, lost the case. Says the Gemara, what did they do? They went ahead and they amended the wall. Okay, so Kosfu Bram Sabe de Yehuda, the elders of Yehuda, in this case Rabbana, Amri Kol Dayan the Miskri Ladin Umafke Mine Mamona Bidin, and the money is taken out of din. Lav Shmei Dayan. Chazer Diksiv Bereish Kol Moisa Ana Dam Bereish Kol Chayin Ana Chama. Now, what causes everyone's death is an overload of blood. They used to bloodlet for him, so therefore the pressure was too high. The person would die. And what was the elixir of life? The elixir of life was wine. So that's what it said. So it said, Ella, the nafal me igra umes, the nafal me digla umes, dama katle. If you fall off a tree, if you fall off a ladder, you're going to tell me that it's the blood pressure killed him? Besu min the darkeha lememis mashkale chamra v'chai. A person who's going to die, you just give him wine and he's going to live. So you're telling me that dam causes death and wine causes life. I can expose you on both accounts. One, I can show you a person dying has nothing to do with blood, and I can show you that wine cannot go ahead and cure every ill. So what's pshat? So what did he do? That was the question. This is what you should write. V'roish kol marin, the head of every sickness, ano, is dam. The sickness is caused by dam, not death, but sickness. V'roish kol asvan, and the head of every refuah, ano, is chamra. At the head of every refuah is what is chamra. Let's see Rashbam. V'reish kol marin ono dam, kol techluli adam, most sickness of a person, al adam heim, shem esrabim alav. It causes too much blood. But not death. V'reish kol asvin ono chamra, shem yishte yayin ke halacha. If you drink it correctly, ukaroi, layavi lechayli. So it's a good prevention. If you drink the wine in the right quantities at the right time, it's a very preventative measure. That's what you should write. So that's what they did. So they said what? So kosvu hachi baram sabe di hudoi ami b'roish kol marin ano dam b'roish kol asvin ono chamra biasid les chamra, in a place where there is no wine, so you don't have the means of getting better. In a place there's no wine, tamon misvos semonim. So in a place where there's no wine, there you should ask for refuah, you should ask for drugs. In other words, things that can go ahead and protect you. Ksiva Pitra de Kaputkia. There's a land called Kaputkia. It's written on there. Anpak, Anbag, Antal. Rashbam says these three things: Anpak, Anbag, all share. They all stand for the same share. And what's the share? There's an Antal. So Revia Shal Torah. This is the revius of the Torah proper. So all these things are allusion to revius.